Welcome to the 757preps.com Football Picks of the Week show. My name is Perez Thomas. I'm here with my esteemed colleague, Jason Kidd. How you doing today, Mr. Kidd?
I'm doing well, Perez. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to get to these games and get some of these picks and see what you got going.
I can't wait for action Friday night, especially Saturday with the Bethel Phoebus game. What a barn burner that's going to be.
Oh, man, I think that might be an instant classic. If ESPN was here, they might have to show that one the next week.
Hey, the next 2 weeks, buddy.
All right, let's go ahead and move on into these picks for this week. We're going to start out in the Bay Rivers District with a nice evenly matched Warhill at Bruton matchup. Bruton's coming off an overwhelmingly surprising game where they got destroyed in every facet of the game by Grafton, which surprised myself and I'm sure probably yourself as well.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I had picked Bruton to win and they didn't show up.
Yeah, so this week I look for Bruton to bounce back behind a stout defense. I know Warhill's feeling real great right now off of 2 consecutive wins, but I just feel like Bruton has a lot to prove after getting blown out by Grafton last week. I'm going to go with Bruton with the victory on this one, 17-7. Like I said, behind that stout defense, a lot of hard hitters out there.
Perez, I got to disagree with you on this one. Warhill is thriving right now. They've won 2 straight with victories over Poquoson and New Kent. They have a Desmond Dedman and Reggie Lipscomb, 2 young guns, and these guys are hungry for victories. They didn't win a game last year. They won 2 straight this year, and they look to build off of that performance last week. I have Warhill taking this game 13-7. 2 field goals and a touchdown, and a stout defensive performance.
All right, well, I like that pick. I can't argue with you. Well, now moving on to the next game of the week, we're going to go with Jamestown at Poquoson, and we were just speaking on how Poquoson's coming off a loss to, Warhill, and last week coming off a nail-biter loss to the Tabb Tigers on basically a blocked extra point, costing them at least a shot at overtime. It's tough times out there on Bull Island right now, and I know these kids got a lot of heart, and I just feel like this week they're going to bounce back and they're going to show their heart and soul, and they're going to run out there and they're going to hit them with that smash mouth Poquoson Bull football. I've got them taking Jamestown this week 21-17 in a close one.
Perez, again, I got to disagree with you, man. Football games are won in the trenches, and there's no doubt about it. Poquoson has a solid offensive line, led by Justin Edwards. But Jamestown, they're coming off a heartbreaking loss last week to York. They're hungry. They wanted more. I'm going to go with Stas Zerbiak. And Stas, if I pronounce your name wrong, please forgive me, buddy. But I look for you to do big things this week in a 24-10 win over the Poquoson Bull Islanders, handing them their 3rd consecutive loss. The AA Division III state champions are reeling right now. They don't have a fish big enough to pull that line in.
All right, well, we'll move along to the next game, which is another intriguing matchup between Tabb and New Kent. With Tabb coming off a very impressive victory over those defending state champion Poquoson Islanders. Basically, with this one, I look at the defenses, and for New Kent, they've been struggling to stop everyone this year. And they're running into a hot running back in Andrew Junio. And please forgive me if I said that last name incorrect. But he's coming off an impressive performance against the Poquoson Islanders. And I look for him to go big time this week. He may end up being, a 2-time player of the week player if he goes off like he did last week against Poquoson. I also look for Tabb's defense, Joe Nelson, that leader in the middle. I think he might have an impact on the football game and trying to contain Storm Parker, star running back for New Kent, who's gone over 100 yards. I believe it's every game this year, and he's looked very impressive himself. What do you think, Jason?
Well, Perez, I finally agree with you. I think Tabb wins this one. New Kent relies on one player, and that's Storm Parker. Football is a game of 11 players on each side of the ball. Tabb just has too much for the Trojans. They get led by junior quarterback Dan Sheely. The guy's got wits out on the field. He doesn't turn the ball over much. Andrew Junio's coming off a breakout performance as he was 757 Preps Player of the Week in the Bay Rivers District. and Joe Nelson coming off 14 tackles last week in the win over Poquoson. I like the Tabb Tigers to roll 21-14. Not enough storm.
Not enough storm. I like the catchy phrase. We're going to move along now to Bailey Field on Friday night as the host York Falcons bring in the young Smithfield Packers in a game that's sure to light up the scoreboard, I would say. I believe these young Packers just might not have enough to stop these veteran Falcons. Look, they've got a huge offensive line. They've been playing together a couple years now. They've got a stud quarterback in Alex Johnson. They've got a stud running back in Jake Norman. They've got a stud all-purpose player in Anthony Honey. I just think it's way too much for a young, scrappy Smithfield bunch. But I think in years to come could be, something to, a force to be reckoned with. But right now, I just don't see them being ready as I see the Falcons rolling 35-14.
York's offense has been putting up prolific numbers for the past 3 years in the Bay Rivers District. Offensive line led by Hayden Crockett. Crockett's being recruited by some D1 schools. He's a big guy, 6'4", 305, and he moves the line. I like Jake Norman to get 150 yards. The York offense is going to continue to roll, and their defense is going to continue to improve as York is making a stand this year, guys. They are going for that state championship. I like York to roll in this one, 38-13. Alex Johnson is going to throw for a couple touchdown passes. Take this number into note. This year, Johnson has thrown over 700 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. This guy doesn't turn the ball over, and he has about 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns to go with it. Too much honey on that peanut butter. I like the York Falcons.
All right, and let's go ahead and move into the Bay Rivers District game of the week. And this one's for first place between the Grafton Clippers and the Lafayette Rams, who come into the game 4-0. Looking very, very crisp, if I must say. Offense flying high. Had a little scare against Bruton, but bounced back last week in a nice game against, Smithfield, I believe they blew out? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Bouncing back against Smithfield. This one, honestly, I almost, I woke up this morning, I almost flipped the coin and said, who's going to win this? Heads, Grafton, tails, Lafayette. It's a very balanced matchup. Both teams have, pretty good defenses, solid defenses. Both teams have prolific offenses. Grafton with Dylan Bartels, he's a small little scat back, but once he gets through the hole, good luck catching him. He's a quick little fella. Then another matchup I want to look at, we got Thomas Smith, the big wideout from Lafayette, head-to-head with Marcus Spearman. That's a matchup right there between two future Division I athletes right there. Honestly, like I said, this one's a toss-up. I'm going to go with Grafton to surprise some people. It's not Poquoson they're playing, who's had their number the last 4 years. It's Lafayette. I think Grafton slips past Lafayette in a close one, 28-24.
Well, in this game, you got to look at the matchup. Lafayette's explosive wideouts versus Grafton's head-hunting, heavy-hitting defensive backs. Marcus Spearman is a beast, there's no doubt about it. But Thomas Smith, 6'5", 230, runs a 4.5 40. He's committed to go to Virginia Tech. Last week, he had 3 touchdown receptions over 50 yards on each reception. I like Lafayette in this one. They got Will Capers, the running back. He can go for 100 on any given night. Thomas Smith. I like Lafayette 24-20 in a Bay Rivers Classic.
All right, now that we've got through the Bay Rivers matchups, we'll go ahead and move into the Peninsula District, starting off with the Friday night game at Todd Stadium between the Menchville Monarchs and the Warwick Raiders. But this one, honestly, I don't think it's going to be too much of a matchup. I think Warwick's got way too much star power all over the field, whether it be on offense or defense. Too much Josh Butler, too much Carton Johnson, who's been kind of quiet this year. I look for him to blow up Friday night. And also, you've got the wideouts, Poindexter and Bethel, who broke out last week. I think it's way too much Warwick Raiders. I'm going 31-7 Warwick.
I agree with you, Perez. DeAndre Bethea had a breakout game last week. 3 catches, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception in the fourth quarter. Josh Butler, what can you say? Michael Vick light? I don't think so, but he's Josh Butler strong. I like the Warwick Raiders to roll 43-0. David Smith, playing at the defensive end, outside linebacker position, had 3 tackles for loss last week, 2 sacks. He's a monster out there. I like the Warwick Raiders to roll. Kecoughtan Johnson, he's been struggling a little bit this year with only 255 yards rushing, I believe. But hey, look for him to get back on track in this game.
All right, now we're going to move into the Saturday slate, which shows 4 games with 2 doubleheaders, I believe, with 2 games at Tide and 2 games at Darling. We're going to start off with the 12 o'clock game at Darling Stadium with the Gloucester Dukes coming off a nice little victory over the Menchville Monarchs against the Kecoughtan Warriors, who are coming off a tough matchup with the Warwick Raiders. This one, I think it's going to be another cut and dry ball game. I think Kecoughtan's defense is going to suffocate Gloucester. They're tough. They're ready and raring after that tough loss to Warwick. I think Trenton Cannon's going to run wild. And like I said, again, I think that Kecoughtan D's got headhunters ready to go. I'm going with Kecoughtan 21-0, a little close. But the offense is struggling a little bit. And the defense is on their grind right now. I'm going with the shutout, but 21-0 Kecoughtan.
I agree, Perez. Kecoughtan's got this game in the bag. Pope could sit out this game and they would still win 48-0 maybe. Just joking. But Kecoughtan is strong. They got Devin Claiborne and Terrence Ricks on the edge. They're not going to give the Gloucester quarterback much time to throw, not much time to run. You got Nick Carrera, the quarterback of Kecoughtan, freshman. It looks who has been improving week in and week out. Adrian Pope, as we have mentioned, and Trenton Cannon are going to have big games. I like Kecoughtan to run wild, 31-7 over the Gloucester Dukes.
All right, sounds good. Now we're going to move into another, what I would say will most likely be a lopsided matchup between the Woodside Wolverines, coming off an impressive victory against the Hampton Crabbers, facing off with the Heritage Hurricanes, who, although they did get shut out against Phoebus, they did show, 1 or 2 impressive drives behind the running back, Khalid Abdullah, who I think is just a phenomenal talent. It's just a shame that he doesn't get, as much talent around him as, say, some of these people on, some of the running backs on, say, your Hamptons, your Woodside. He doesn't necessarily have the offensive line in front of him to where he could go off for 200-300 yards. That being said, I think Donnell Lewis and that big offensive line, I think they're going to be way too much for Heritage. Heritage coming off a tough loss against Phoebus. I think Woodside's going to be way too much. I'm going to go 42-7 Woodside.
Donnell Lewis has found a connection with the tight end McFadden, and I like Woodside to work that a little bit more against Heritage. Khalid Abdullah is a fascinating running back. He's not that big, but he's 5'10", 180 pounds, but he is hard to bring down. Just ask those Phoebus Phantoms where Abdullah had broke tackle after tackle on his way to 88 yards against the Phantoms and almost scored. As a matter of fact, on 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line, Abdullah got in the end zone. One referee signaled touchdown. The other referee signaled that he was down at the half-yard line, which preserved Phoebus' shutout. But all in all, Woodside has too much talent. Look for Kyle Westfall to open up gaping holes for Donnell Lewis and the running backs. Woodside wins big, 41-10.
All right, we're going to move along to the night game at Todd Stadium, which is the Hampton Crabbers, who are reeling right now. 2 losses, first time since 1965 they've started off the PD 1-2. I believe Mike Smith was an assistant then. Long time. I'm sure they're going to be ready to bounce back as they face off with the winless Denbigh Patriots, coming off a shootout loss with the Bethel Bruins. Basically, I think this is going to be another cut and dry ball game. Depending on if Denzel Wise goes or not. If Wise doesn't go, this could be even worse. I think behind Bellamy, Newsom, and Cogdell, and that strong Hampton D, I think Hampton bounces back, evens up that PD record. I think it's going to be an easy win with or without Wise, but with Wise, I'll say Hampton 35-14 because Denbigh can score because they can pass the ball with Gostomski and a slew of other wide receivers. But without them, it could get real ugly real fast. I'm going, like I said, 35-14 Hampton.
Denbigh can score. There's no doubt about it. But Hampton's defense is probably going to be the toughest defense they've seen yet this year. Denzel Wise is going to be a key point in the game. If he plays, Denbigh scores 20 or more points. There's no doubt about it. Hampton, on the other hand, they're reeling right now. They are really hungry to get back on track. I like Kayvon Bellamy and Dallas Cogsdale to run 2 touchdowns apiece. They'll get a field goal. Hampton wins this one, 31-20. It's going to be closer to what some people may imagine. I've talked to Denbigh defensive coordinator Keeson Wigfall, and he's been working with his players, Patrick Prosser, to start wrapping up, get those running backs down on initial contact. And if they do, this could be an upset. Think back to 1990 when the Denbigh Patriots upset Hampton and derailed their Peninsula District Championship hopes. Well, I'm going with Hampton in this one, 31-20, but this game is definitely going to be closer than anticipated.
Yeah, I've seen a couple Denbigh games this year, and it looked like they were going for the highlight reel hit instead of wrapping up and making the sure tackle. So, anything's possible. But now let's move into the game of the week in the PD, and if you ask me, probably in the state.
I would agree.
Between 2 4-0 teams, very talented bunch, in Bethel Bruins with the high-flying, high-octane air attack behind Frank Brown, Rashawn Proctor, and Willie Davis, going against the 3-time AAA state champion Phoebus Phantoms, who, as of right now, I believe have the national record for the longest winning streak going currently at 49 games, and they're looking to make it number 50 behind their 2-headed monster of Desmond Belfield and the newly acquired, or not newly acquired, but just fresh off of, I guess, suspension, Tony Pittman. All I can say about this one is it is the matchup of the complete opposites. You got the high-flying, quick, trying to get it up and down the field offense of Bethel against the smash-mouth, run it down your throat, 40 carries a game offense of Phoebus. This one, to me, another toss-up, and I know there's a lot of smack talk going on around now, and a lot of people are saying, Phoebus doesn't look like a state champion right now. But to me, until they lose or until somebody knocks them off that pedestal, you've got to go with the champions here. I mean, their defense is stout. I believe I think they're giving up an average of like 6.5 points a game right now. I believe that's tops in the district as of right now. And I just, if they can get pressure on Frank Brown, it's going to be a tough night for Bethel. If not, Phoebus could be in trouble. Phoebus was exposed a bit this year in the scrimmage matchup against Oscar Smith. As their secondary is awfully weak. They're a little bit young. They're still getting accustomed to things. So it's really going to be interesting to see who imposes their will early in this game and gets a step up. It's hard for me to pick against the state champs who've gone 49 in a row. I'm going to go with Phoebus on this one, and a bit of a surprise and a low-scoring matchup. 20-14 Phoebus. If it gets any more than that, I would not be surprised if Bethel pulls out what many consider an upset, but I would consider a very minor one because Bethel is a very tough bunch. What do you think, Jason?
This is going to be an intriguing matchup. You got Bethel's strong defensive line led by sophomore Ricky Walker. They held Hampton to under 100 yards rushing, under 150 yards of total offense. You got Phoebus with the 1-2 punch of Desmond Belfield and Tony Pittman, like Perez said. You got Eric Anderson. You got Ramon DeLoach, who's looking to have a breakout game. This game will be won in the trenches. If Phoebus can stop Bethel's spread offense, they're going to need a big game from their secondary. Keep in mind, Their shut down, lockdown corner, Octavius Matthews, he's going to be out till week 10 or maybe possibly the first week of the playoffs. But you got Mark Wilson, the 6'3", 250-pound defensive lineman who played his first game this past week against Heritage and had an immediate impact on that line.
Yes,
you got Jamal Tolliver, who's getting healthier by the day. I like the Phoebus Phantoms in this game, and this is no surprise. This is no upset. Phantoms by 1. It's going to come down to the last possession, and look for University of Delaware commit Eric Anderson to nail a 45-yard field goal in the waning seconds. Phoebus wins 17-16.
He's definitely been there and done it. He's a clutch kicker. Been doing it since, what, a freshman, I believe?
He connected from 48 yards against Heritage last night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, that concludes the 757preps.com Picks of the Week show. Be sure to check back next week to see how we fared and possibly see how you fared against us. Basically, I just want to say good luck to all the high school teams this weekend. It's going to be a fun one. Anything you had to add?
Please don't take these picks personal. We're just going on what we feel is who is going to win. There's nothing against you if we didn't pick you. We still love you. Thank you for your support.
Be sure to check out 757preps.com. We also have plenty of highlights of all the games we pretty much show up to. We usually do video. If not, we do have an article. Be sure to check our YouTube out. And also be sure to like us on Facebook. And you can also follow us on Twitter at 757preps, where usually we'll post up the scores as they come along during the game if we're covering that game. And sometimes if we're not at the game and have correspondence, we also put the scores up. So for this week, I'm Perez Thomas. This is Jason Kidd. Thanks for supporting 757preps.com.